So here's the match starting. Jiva's telling to me to stay low, in case the guy shoots in for a single leg. So we engage. I do a fist bump. I like to go way back. Then I march right in. I get my grip. Come down to the floor. He's breaking my grip. I'm going after the grip, chasing him toward the boundary. He doesn't want to engage. We sort of meet back up in the middle. I get a grip on him, and I cross collar, and he starts a leg dragging series. And I put my foot on the floor here, and then we continue going forward. So then there's some recovery here. I go after the De La Hiva and I invert underneath him. So that little bit again. Here you can see I'm developing my grip and looking to make contact with him. Upper body, lower body, it's not really going to matter. But I do want to make contact with him. And so as he comes into here, I am looking for different ways I can attach to him. And so I've got my hip off the ground, so I can use both of my legs to try and chase into his legs, chase into his upper body, controlling his head, controlling his stance. I'll sometimes reach over for their legs and then rearrange my body around whatever grip I could get. Like I kind of do that there. He starts to drag. I recover and turn in. I place the De La Hiva hook. And I start stretching him out. I'm sort of threatening a few things here, like I'm reading. At that point right there, I'm reading the way he's trying to move, and so he goes towards the inversion again, and so we go through the inversion, and I'm going up and stepping on his far leg and just going to cover his hips, and we get paused here, and I'm always a fan of just I'm going to pause for a little bit here. I'm not just going to jump up, but I'm going to pause like how we were. So I get 2 for that. He switches us. I look over at Jiva. And for some reason, this is kind of silly. I remember the time I was thinking to myself, shoot a single? That's what that motion is that I do here. Except for I'm like, what? What's up, Jiva? What's up? You want me to shoot a single? And he's like, no, just stay low and pull guard. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, we're fixing our uniforms. I'm making sure that I'm staying very ahead in my thinking, that I'm ready to go at any moment. We do the same fist bump. I back out again. Then I come right at him again, and I go for my grips. He gives me this not such a good leg trip, but he tried to do that. I double up on the collar so I can get the cross collar. I start putting my limbs on him. I get my legs onto him, and I get the sleeve grip. I start playing collar sleeve against him, and I'm feeling pretty comfortable with this. I'm attacking him with a couple different things that I'll go over, and then there's a transition right there that's kind of weird, and so let's go over that. So what happens here is we go to grip, and he knows what kind of grip I'm looking for, and I know that he knows that, so I'm going to take the same grip or a different one. It doesn't really actually matter. I'm just going to control his head. And so we're sort of like fencing and boxing each other at the same time right here to sort of find an opening, an opportunity to sort of lunge forward and then not actually strike with the right, but strike with the left so I can feed it. So he kicks away, it doesn't break, and I'm able to double up, get the grip I want, and come down towards a safe guard pull. And in that safe guard pull now, I can draw him onto my legs. He doesn't like that collar grip because it's making him have to come into my guard, but he's already squared up at this point, so you're coming along for the ride. So once someone's squared up to you and you're attached to their head like that, if you just lift your hip and lower your hip, you'll start forcing them to move with you because they're having to carry your body weight every time you do that. So here he starts to try to pressure forward off of that carry, and I'm ready for that. But it's good on him because you try something that's low risk for you to do, and then you develop it more if appropriate. If I gave him a horrible response there, he would have just passed my guard. But I gave him a decent response. He goes to a decent follow-up, which is to start stepping over, and then he adds this very nice athletic side movement where he tries to almost long step past my knees. But the grip he's using, I know that if I'm just staying on the inside, he won't be able to control my head. He won't be able to really resolve the pin in any useful way. And then I'm just using that and then just reestablishing my contact with him. And then once I've got that contact with him, He's trying to find an angle on me, going side to side right there. And I square up to him, and I make sure that my guard is wide enough that I can catch him regardless of which direction he decides to move. Okay, and then we get into a little bit more tangled here. I go up for a not so great triangle, and then there's opportunities, yeah, in here, I think, to go into single leg X guard or Ashigurami or straight Ashi or Anaconda guard, whatever you want to call it, through this sort of sequence that's playing out. So what happens is I'm going to just be trying to drag him into this triangle. That's sort of like what I'm going for this whole time, trying to drag him into a triangle. And there are ways I can do that. I get his foot off the floor that makes him start to fall. He has to catch himself in some way. He steps forward. This is an opportunity for me to grab his leg, slide under, and use any number of different kinds of guard. But I'm not really interested in that. It doesn't really interest me. So I put him in a position where it's almost like a split that you would do with the legs if you were going to go for a hip bump sweep from close guard, except your hips are much further off the ground. And it's a way of sort of splitting your legs into onto the side to create an advantage in level, because your hips are actually much higher, or can get much higher than they normally are in this position. And the angle your legs come in is very horizontal. It's kind of like the same horizontal line as the belt, and that lets them get in at different angles or hook in at different angles. It's a really interesting way to play, I think. And I go over here for the triangle attempt. I'm not really going for the triangle attempt. I'm just attacking him and making sure to recover my guard, because I do want to just reset my attacks and give it another go. He does a good job here of coming through and trying to threaten me, but I'm able to just off balance him again. And yeah, there's a million sweeps you can finish from this position, but it was not the grip trade that could go down there. I was not really interested in that. That would not have been, because this guy, if you watch later, he has a good half guard, and so we go through these this exchange here, and he's sort of trying to get into a position to pass, which he's comfortable with. Of course, it's how you should always pass, is to pass the guards that you feel comfortable passing. And so we're doing this, and then we end up in that position here. Okay, so then once in this position, I could have gone to things like deep half guard, or in that one right there, actually, Ashigurami. This one here, a deep half guard, you could definitely make a case for that. Still. But I rather sort of, I think of it like juggling. I'd rather like juggle him back into a position that overall is a better position for me to work from. And so I'm thinking a lot of times, here's a good thing. The first movement here out of this position is me getting out of his is me getting him into close guard. So I go from here, and anytime I'm in this sort of position, I really want to take it to somebody, I'll track my foot up to their hip here. So I might go let's see. So I might go, I'm taking my foot out. He's trying to hold my foot. He would like to step over my foot. But I block him there with my leg. I'll go over that. And then I get my knee higher than his knee and my foot higher than his hip. And that means I can go into a close guard type situation, but he's pinching his knees, so it doesn't actually close. But I can use that from the grip I'm still using this whole time, this cross collar and sleeve, to start breaking him down, peeling him in, and stepping right back on the biceps, and I get him off balance, go, boom, get a good opportunity for an attack, get him off balance overhead, another opportunity for attack, and I close my guard, I set him up for the arm lock. I really wanted to pass this guy's guard, really wanted to do some more of that. I don't get the arm lock, I go to the reverse Elahiva, and I work a good hook in from here. I'm able to off balance him, drawing him forward as he's stepping over. And at this point, Jiva's telling me to, one, to be more aggressive in using the grip, for the loop, and he doesn't like the way that this position plays out necessarily, so he encouraged me to go back to my game. I do this. He goes for a Toehold here, and I really enjoy this next move that happens. Um, yeah, I just really enjoy it. It's a great movement, and you do enough of those inversions, and you start finding avenues in and out. Who knows? I don't know who came up with it. Whatever. I didn't see it in a video. That's how I came across it. Was just doing it, but I'm sure that it's old. I'm sure it's most of your guys' old news, but it was fun for me at the time. So I go backwards and up, and I put my hands on the floor and my head on the floor, and then I get up top. And I settle in to get the 2 points. Just want to pin him down here. I want to make this half guard into a pin as much as I can. So I get in, I get some useful grip for where I am, and I know that I'm going to have to fight him to get a better grip, a real grip with which to break him down with, and actually, move into the next phase of the guard pass in a way that's controlled, and for lack of a better term, you want to break the person down. You want them to be not desiring to be a part of that pressure. Okay, so there's a few things that are going on here that are maybe interesting. So let's take it back a little bit. Okay, so I know that the Toehold threat is coming, or not here, but when I take my leg out, and that's kind of a brutish thing I do there. I just grab his foot, and I pull my leg out, and I go for it. And the thing is he was not really prepared for me to just go for it like that, so it worked. But I would have been better off balancing him first. But that may have given away the what was coming. So maybe it did work to my advantage. So here we go. So he starts going for the Toehold here, and come on, guys, been in 1,000 Toeholds from here. There's not. Anyway, so because of the way you can grab their legs and their pants and their belts and their collars and their sleeves, it's a lot harder to, and the limits on the footlocks you can do. So, and the grips I can use to just progress my attack forward. The inverted De La Hiva attack, the Berimbolo, has much less vulnerability to leg attacks as long as you have a general sense of what you're trying to do. You just really want to avoid having your knee go inside of their 2 knees, because that's really how they're going to have to control your leg for by and large to get a good toehold on you. So I come out from underneath him here, and he tries to come up, and he tries to go for a back roll type of movement to recover his guard, which I'm freaking fine with, because what I want to do is grab his bottom lapel, his top pant leg, and I want to get over his knee on my left side. So that makes it his right knee. I want to get over his knee, and I want to get into his half guard, and I want to get his lapel, and I want to get a lot of it. I just want to get all of his lapel, and I just want to get it. And then I want to use it to, crossface and etc. And so here we are, gripping, I'm pulling him in, he's off balancing me, and this, there's a certain point in here where Jiva says to me, do not pass, stay there, and right there, that's the moment. And I just stop. So let's do that again. Jiva, my instructor, is here, and he's saying, do not pass. The moment he says that, bang, I settle down in the hip, and I go on a feed the lapel. The reason that's important is because from the beginning here, this is an error on my part. I get my grip here. Remember, this is 5 years ago. Okay, and every year every year. This is a side note. I get a sense that I get better at a faster rate than I did the years prior, because it's built on all the things that I've been learning over this time, and I feel like I've really accelerated recently. And that's you get better as you get better, because you can get better faster. You know how to, if you're curious about it, you will get better and better, because you notice the improvement. Anyway, so here we are. I get up on top, and I land in this half guard, and when I go to cross face this guy here, so I'm thinking leg weave, I'm thinking pin him across the center line. I'm thinking half guard. I'd be happy with any of those. So I get a crossface and I drive into him a little bit kind of foolishly, but I knew that if I played my cards right, I could flatten his hip. And if I flattened his hip, he wouldn't be going anywhere. But he was doing a good job of testing my balance. He makes me, my head goes to the floor, things like that. You see that there. But also, that's like each one of these exchanges that I'm doing where it's like my legs cross, my legs uncross, my legs cross, my legs uncross, cross, uncross, cross, 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 look for your leg, cross, uncross, is me trying to hold his leg in a position while I move my knees or something related to this. And then we're going through here, and I actually place my leg back into his half guard. This is because I can recognize that now that he's done that here, but the grip he has that you maybe can see coming up here, he takes his hand, and he's about to get that grip. Now the problem with that is if I continued moving, he would have done something that I don't want, something where he's sliding out and away from me, underneath me, but he's gotten to some inside position on my leg with his hand. That is not a good thing when it comes time to pass somebody's guard, especially a deep half guard, especially when they essentially have to absorb the pressure of your crossface because you've reinforced it with the lapel. They're going to have to start doing things like that, like trying to get inside position on the legs and then try to invert or go out the back door or things like this. And you just have to be wary of that. You just have to be wary that you don't let them get a hold of your legs. You don't want people getting a hold of your legs. Okay, you don't want them holding your legs. They're your legs. You keep them. Okay, and then let's keep moving. Yeah, so I'm just adjusting this crossface here, and what I'm really looking to do is go from an angle where I'm lower 45 across his body, then maybe 90 across, and then upper 45 where I'm sort of on downward diagonal with him. And if I can get to that upper 45 angle where I go, my head is basically by his hip and my hips are by his head. It's a great position for passing guard or launching submissions. And so I'll slowly develop that over time, and I'm trying to stop him from forming an elbow knee escape, obviously on the inside. Jiva advised me to use a wedge right there with the elbow and to add that in with the crossface pressure, and you can tell that the guy's really not enjoying the crossface, which he definitely seemed like he was not. And then he's like, start sliding your foot out, sliding your foot. I'm like, this foot? It's like, duh, of course that foot. And I'm like, okay, yeah, just wanted to make sure, man, come on, I want to win this, come on. And I started moving my foot, and I'm like, he's doing some stuff with his foot, and I just was not too certain of it at the moment. And he says, don't lose his head. Jiva says, don't lose his head. Don't lose his head. He sees me moving. He's like, don't lose his head. Don't lose his head. Yeah, so here I'm cross-facing him. He's kicking up. He's trying to get his head free. He's trying to get his shoulders free. And yeah, I really like just in those positions right there. The reinforced crossface with the lapel is one of the most powerful things you can get in jiu-jitsu. If not the most powerful, I mean, just by itself, it's such a powerful grip. You can do with one hand, you can do a full strangling crossface and have an underhook and a head trap all at the same time. And it just takes one grip and you feed it. And you really should just always use this grip if you ever are seriously trying to pass somebody's half guard. You go across their center line with your center line and you walk. You can see it here. My leg is shuffling in a little bit. And then you start prying yourself out, and you can pry yourself out a whole bunch of different ways. You can do it with a cross knee pass. You can do it with, I did a little tricky little move here because I knew I had him pretty, he was feeling the heat on this one. And so I knew if I put any pry in, I would get him. And then here's where Jiva doesn't want me to lose his head. So I settle in. I actually pull his legs towards me for a moment so I can settle him down. Then I go here and I grip. And I just really make sure I've got that crossface. And then you'll see over here that the way that the leg comes out. I just make one more adjustment after he tells me, don't lose his head, don't lose his head. I go and grip, I pull him in, I get flush, and you'll see right there I pry my leg open. So this is the part that's like the little just a little nice detail that I like. Just a little nice detail I like. So here, pulling in that cross face, pulling that in, pulling it in, putting a lot of pressure on him. He starts moving around. I'm gonna have to be adjusting it over here, and then my outside leg, my support leg, is gonna come in and just temporary shin pry. Watch this. Temporary shin pry, bang. And I've got great position to right over his hips, so I can be able to step over into the mount, and then right over the back, and then right back up to the mount. And just a couple things about that transition. So obviously when we're here and passing with that last adjustment, then I'm actually using my right leg to just completely hook into the knee, which not only does it, so let's say here, not only does it hook in and stop them from actually turning to face you, because they're not going to be able to move. There's just so many things they have to do to align their inside leg properly. They need their foot high. They've got to be able to push with their outside leg. They've got to be able to move their hips away from you. And if you stay attached and you're lifting that leg, there's just so many mechanical problems in so many parts of their legs, stopping them from doing the number 1, 2, 3 thing they need to do to get out. So it's super powerful. So they actually stop doing that, and you can just climb up and mount them like this. Now when you mount like this, you see here over on the other side that he's already turning away from me, but he's not trying to turn away from me. He's trying to turn away from me so that he can turn back and do something else. He wants me to follow him, and I'm going to follow him, of course, but I have to not get toppled. So you'll see that I stop him in the mount, and then we turn again. Okay, so that's important. So we go here, we make an adjustment, a pry open, and then I hook into the legs, mount him. He's already moving, but he moves a second time. I'm able to follow him. I turn him over, go back up to the mount. And when in doubt, just go back up to the mount. There you go. A little hand fire. Okay, so a few things there. That may be interesting. So going to the mount here, what I'm really looking to do is just make sure that my feet are always in contact with him in a way that is productive for me. So that might mean hooking in his grapevines. It might mean hooking in into the form of the hip. It might mean crossing my ankles to each other. It might mean that I need to be ready to transfer them into hooks on the back. And so you'll see that now I've got my feet close together. Whenever you're taking someone's back, you can always have your feet close together, and as long as you would be able to remove them from being crossed, you'll never run into those big problems, or that simple problem where somebody tries to do a footlock on you because you have your ankles crossed. You won't run into that. But what you want to do is you want to be able to work with your feet and knees close to each other, because that's what's going to give you a good control where you can add pieces to that control. So if you've got a body triangle, or you've got a good solid bottom hook across your partner's waist, you can often use your remaining leg much more effectively if it's just hanging out close to your bottom hook. So keeping your feet close together, very important in back takes. And so I actually try to make that happen, and it forces a turn from him. And this is a great turn for me, because as long as my head comes up and my hips come up above him, I'm going to be able to get on top anytime I want. And so I can sort of take my time in what adjustments and grip changes I want to make when I do that. So I go to the mounted position. He turns away. I'm able to take my time coming up into a good attacking set of grips, and I know that I just really want his elbow to stay across like that. Like you can really see how his elbow, it starts off way earlier than that. But yeah, right there, where he's basically in the beginnings of an arm triangle, and then I come up with it. And then we got the transition to the back. I sort of take away his defensive hands. I'll go into this another time. This is just sort of formalizing the submission. And I'll go over this part another time. But more than that, I'd like to go over more of what I could have done better, like do some demonstration of that. How I knew that. I'll give you one sample right now. Here's one that you might like. Let's see. So there's a point in the match, here we go, where I'm in his half guard. And now be patient with me for a second. I'm not sure exactly which one it is, but at some point along the way, maybe we'll find it, you will see that when my legs rest, that there's a certain, I won't say jiggle, but like a certain amount of play or slack in the joints of my ankles, meaning that they weren't being used fully for what they could do. They were sort of, and they're, you know, they can be, and they'll, the thing is every time you place one of your pieces, your foot, your shin, your knee, anything, as long as if it's a full lever, then you'll get a multiplicative effect from it. So really cleaning up your foot position and making sure you're using your feet a lot is really important. I'm trying to find where exactly it was. It might not be from this one, because this match is like recorded like 4 different angles or something. Oh, it's right there a little bit, right there a little bit. Let's see. I don't think I was genuinely shaking my foot to get it out, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's just one example. Anyway, so then yeah, the match finishes up. I'll go over some other stuff if people want to see it, but let's see how this goes over.